There's no other place in San Francisco that you can say, let me take half a dozen museums, a lot of technology companies, a smattering of condo buildings, some artist enclaves, a ballpark, a medical center, and drop them in. And yet that's what we've done in SOMA. And I think that as the neighborhood develops, there's going to be much more interesting collaboration between people.
South of Market is one of the oldest neighborhoods here in San Francisco and has an incredibly long history here.
This neighborhood grew out of the rubble of the 1906 earthquake.
There was really nothing here. It was very industrialized and run down. The street itself looked like it was something out of a war zone.
This was the old original sort of end of the train tracks, waterfront, light industrial area.
It was really a neighborhood where a lot of migrant workers lived and where we built a lot of kind of the single room occupancy buildings that we see scattered throughout Chinatown and the Tenderloin and the Mission. It was really a workers' neighborhood.
A lot of people that lived in the single resident occupancies at that time were the workers that rebuilt the city.
As the 60s and 70s came around, we started to have more immigrants coming into the neighborhood, and also around the same time, artists actually started to move into kind of abandoned, large industrial spaces, and you kind of see all of that mixed into the neighborhood right now.
When I first moved here, SOMA to me was, all I knew was it was 11th Street. Basically, it was the clubs and bars along 11th.
7-9 years ago, nobody was walking in.
There wasn't a Whole Foods, there wasn't a Safeway, there wasn't a Walgreens. Saturdays and Sundays, the area was, during the day, was totally dead.
The big driver really would have been the 1989 Loma Prieta earthquake, which once the Embarcadero came down, then the city could connect with this waterfront at this part.
I think what happened in the late 90s and is continuing now is the biggest change. It's this place from where I saw to now this real mix of arts and entertainment, manufacturing, housing, restaurants, all mixed together. So it's been kind of this maturation of a neighborhood.
Of course, Yerba Buena on one side, Giants on the other, and the Embarcadero on the other. I think those three things form kind of a triangle, if you will, creating sort of cultural focal points that things could fill in.
South of Market has changed tremendously just even in the last 10 to 15 years.
When I came back as a manager in 2008, I started coming in on some Saturdays and Sundays and saw foot traffic that we've never seen before in this area. And people peering in the window wondering if we were open.
We do get a lot of foot traffic. This is becoming more of a neighborhood rather than just your average mechanic shop.
It's I consider it a fairly upscale neighborhood now, but patchwork with the old industrial. We have a lot of old automotive shops and that sort of stuff still here. I think it's a very sort of new neighborhood, or neighborhood still in transition. It hasn't settled out yet to what it's going to be.
And so what you see now is we have completely new neighborhoods like Rincon Hill and South Beach, neighborhoods that didn't exist 10 years ago, propping up along the waterfront and by the freeways.
I love South of Market. There's such a diversity of life here. And what attracted me to it was the fact that there was something I could do to help make this better.
I think South of Market area is probably the most underdeveloped part of San Francisco, so it's going to be the most dynamic. I mean, we have a master plan of creating this to be the new downtown.
Now, one of the challenges is how do we make these neighborhoods complete neighborhoods? Places where people call home and they feel like it's part of their community.
There's a lot of people living here now, and they come from very different backgrounds, ethnically, industry-wise, age-wise. You could put them into a different neighborhood in San Francisco and they would fit in just well. Whereas in SOMA, they all know that they're at the start of something, not the finish of something.
You're seeing more people take ownership of the neighborhood, whether it be businesses or residents, and get actively involved. I would interpret in a positive way in which people are out interacting with their neighbors, improving when they can their neighborhood, whether it be keeping eyes on the street or just sweeping the sidewalks outside their stores.
There's a lot of things that a lot of the other parts of the city, that they don't have. There's just tons of things that are going to get people to come out and explore and be out at night.
Without the presence of people on the street, that makes a huge difference. People to come to see our shows, it's difficult for them to pass certain areas of this neighborhood, but I think it's a little improved from then.
If I were to predict this area in the next 5 years, it would be completely different than what we've seen even a year back. It'll be more of a lively neighborhood rather than just a pathway to the freeway exit or a pathway getting out of Market Street.
For one, we're going to go through this whole building of the new subway system, and that's going to go right outside our front door on the surface and then go underground across the street.
Trans Bay is going to fill in with a giant park the size of the Panhandle and a lot of office buildings. Folsom Street is going to have an amazing retail corridor. Raycon Hill may develop a little arts district amongst the few buildings. And so we're going to have this potpourri of people living together that cannot and would not happen in other parts of the city. So I think you're going to see a lot of creative energy here. And I think it'll work out because these are all can-do people. They're here, they're successful, they'll work together. So those things I know, but what the results will be, I don't know.
We're here and we love it. It's a nice and lively, I wouldn't call it a neighborhood yet, but it's a lively area.
The neighborhood is going to benefit from having not only great walk-by traffic, but it's more pleasant for the residents. And the more that we can make this a user-friendly neighborhood, the more people are going to come out of their buildings and their lofts.
We just want to build community, and we want to maintain the diversity also that exists in SOMA, and also to make people feel connected and people feeling connected to each other and also to their community.
I think the businesses that are here are the key element to any neighborhood changing, especially this one.